Hello, friend. Welcome to a re-recorded video for CART 253 Creative Computation 1. By and large, the videos that you're going to see for this course were recorded a couple of years ago, but I wanted to re-record a couple of the early ones just because some small things have changed, and also so you can get used to my face, so that it won't frighten you when you meet it in person. So this video is going to be about creating a repository using GitHub.com and the basic process of getting that repository made and onto your computer so that you kind of know where it is, and then we can start learning how to actually use a version control repository with files and all of the magical properties that it unleashes. So let's get to work on that. I'm going to really just show you what's happening on my screen from here on out, so don't worry too much about my face anymore. So the first thing that we're going to do is, in our browser, I use Chrome, we're going to go to github.com. And if you don't already have an account here, you'll want to sign up here in the top right-hand corner. It'll ask you a few. Oh goodness, it's very beautiful and different to when I when I first got my account. You'll want to follow the instructions, and of course it'll talk you through the process of having an account with GitHub, which you will need for the course. I already have an account, and when you have an account, you'll be able to sign in. You can sign in with your username or your email address, and obviously have a wonderful password that nobody will ever guess. And then I'm going to sign in now. And it's loving the two-factor authentication stuff these days, so I'm going to pop in my authentication number here and show you that I believe in good security, because I so do. And depending on whether you've used GitHub or not, you may have lots of repositories here, you may have absolutely no repositories here, it doesn't matter. What you're going to want to do is create a new repository. So we've got this green button here. We can do it there. We can also do it over here with this plus button here, right? We can go to new repository there. It's totally fine, whichever way you want to do that. And when we create a new repository, the first thing we have to do is give it a name. I recommend that you give it a name like CART 253-2023. Nice and clear. It's got the course code and it's got the year that you're doing it. Obviously, I'm not suggesting you're going to have to take it again in 2024, but you know, adding the year is always a good idea, right? I tend to use all lowercase letters when I make repository names. That's a fairly common convention, but it is up to you. In the description, which we do not have to fill out, I'm going to write, this is my course repository. That was a nice high note for CART 253. It's important that you make this public. Because your instructor is going to need to be able to see your code and your stuff. And I think it's a very good idea to select add a README file, because that way you'll have a file in your repository from the very beginning. Don't worry about git ignores right now. You can ignore git ignores. And don't worry about licenses right now unless you really want to. With that, that's all of the information we need, right? Name of repository, maybe a description, make sure it's public, add a README file, and we're good to go. Create repository. Lovely. Now this repository exists, you can see it has a URL up here, github.com/pipinbar, that's my GitHub username and my real name, nice to meet you, /cart253-2023, which is the name that I gave to the repository. And we'll learn a lot more about what's going on just here, but one of the things I do want us to do right away, because it's very, very useful both for coursework and for life work, is I want us to go to the settings here, click, and I want us to go down here to this setting called pages, click, and I want to make sure this is selected, deploy from a branch, and here where instead of none I want to choose main. Main is the name of the main branch of your repository. You're unlikely to actually need to worry about anything else. It'll always be main. They renamed it from master to main semi-recently for very good reasons. The word master has some unpleasant connotations that they didn't want involved in version control. So you still might see master in some of the other videos until I remake those videos. So main, and then we want to choose save. And what GitHub Pages does for us is it allows us to have files in this repository, because what a repository ultimately is a place that you can store a whole bunch of files, essentially in a folder. But one of the things that those files can be is something like a website, right? You could have an index.html file, you could have some JavaScript, you could have some CSS. They could all be inside your repository. And if you turn on GitHub Pages, as we just did now, you're going to be able to share your repository as a website. So it will actually appear as a website. So it's kind of like free web hosting, which is terrific, I think. So that's the one other thing that we wanted to do here on github.com. The next thing that we're going to want to do is get that repository onto our computer, because right now it's only on this website, right? It's not on my computer anywhere. I want to get it onto my computer so that I can start working with the files or lack of files inside it in the next video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up GitHub Desktop on my computer, like that. And I'm going to clone a repository from the internet. It's one of the main things you want to do when you get started is you clone a repository, meaning that you're going to copy the repository from github.com where we created it onto your computer. That is cloning. It essentially means download. Now, you can clone repositories from a couple of different places. The one that we want to choose is github.com, but to do that we need to sign in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to go ahead and continue with my browser. And I'm going to say sure, and then we come back and we are ready to go. It's providing me with a list of all of my repositories. Now I do a lot of programming, so I have a lot of repositories, as you can see. You may only have one listed here, and that's 100% fine. And you can, of course, helpfully type in the name of your repository up here in the search field. This is the one that I want, right? Cart 253-2023. And you can choose where you want to put it. By default, it's going to put it in your main documents folder inside a folder called GitHub. And then in there, there's going to be a folder called Cart 253-2023, or the name of your repository. That's going to be where you're going to do all of your coursework. So put it somewhere that you enjoy. You could put it on your desktop, you could put it in your Dropbox, you could put it in your Google Drive, you can put it in a secret folder you never want anybody to find. So long as you know where it is, I am 100% okay with where you put it. Now that we've chosen our place, I'm going to leave it in the default location. I'm going to choose clone. Again, clone just means download. It was very quick because there's nothing in there. But I can now go and quickly check by clicking on this button. And I can go to my home folder, my documents folder, my GitHub folder, and there it is there, right? And in fact, that's a vestige of times gone by, so I'm going to delete that. There is the folder, right? And as promised, it has this readme.md folder file inside it that was created when we created the repository. So this folder here represents the exact same folder that we were seeing on github.com, right? So if I go back to this code section, we can see that there's one file in this repository called readme.md. And same thing in this folder on my computer, there's one file called readme.md. The point of version control and GitHub in this particular instance is that we are going to keep this folder here synchronized with this folder here. That way, all of the work that we do here on our computer is going to be nice and safe and available on the website github.com as well, including, thanks to GitHub Pages, being able to make it a public website, which is extra excellent, I think. That's all that I'm going to talk about for now. Hopefully these steps were not overly complicated. The real work of using version control we're going to look at in another video, just because it's better to separate it out. So by the end of this video, the dream is that you have got a GitHub account, you have created a GitHub repository for this course. I have suggested that you call it Cart 253-2023, and you have cloned that repository onto your computer in a location of your choice using GitHub Desktop. If you're already knowledgeable about these sorts of things and you've gone about all of this in a different way, that is totally fine. So long as we end up with those results, I'm happy. If this is unfamiliar to you, don't worry, there is plenty of help available should any of these steps prove to be a little bit difficult. We're just getting set up to do the really fun work, which is, of course, programming. So with that, I'll say goodbye for this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, evening, small hours of the morning, whatever's going on with you right now. And bye-bye.